Right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Brent here at Address. Give it just a second to get some people in here. But while we're waiting to do that, I want to remind you all that we've got the Helen, Georgia meet coming up June 6th through 8th. That's one that I host down in Helen, Georgia. And it's for all 944 owners. It's the largest 944 meet in the Southeast. So hopefully you guys can join me. You can also go to address.com/HelenMeet to see the event's webpage. But today, I'm just here working on some cars. Hopefully you've come to see some 944s. 4 people here so far. Hope everybody's having a great afternoon. How's it going, Didier? Eddie asks, any meets in Florida? I know Orlando used to have a few meets. I'm not sure if they still hold them though. Jack says, hey, well, good afternoon to you, Jack. So if you joined the live stream last week, you saw that we have a lot of cars here. And some of them are still here. Not all of them, but chipping away at them. I have one of my new guys here today. So it went from about 70 degrees yesterday back down to about 40 today. But it's still a nice day outside, so I hope everybody's having a nice day. Anybody working on anything interesting? Thomas said, I just got my 86 turbo with 40,000 miles, showroom condition, looking to learn. Awesome. Well, that sounds wonderful, Thomas. You've come to the right spot. We've got a lot of turbos here in various states. We do pretty much everything on them, and sometimes we run into new stuff that we've never seen before, but it happens. That's the thing about working on cars with a lot of volume, is that there's always something new. But hopefully any questions you have, we'll have some answers to you, because we've seen a lot, but there's always still something left to see on this. You wouldn't think so, but every week something new pops up. Eddie says he's got a 84 944, needs a lot but good bones. So that's awesome. Yeah, I've seen a lot of cars like that turn into really nice ones. I had an 84 white one that was in pretty decent shape, and it had a respray, but the respray looked good from about 2 or 3 feet. And really liked that car, and then I was hit by a semi in it, and I was going to restore it and just fix it up. It just basically needed a new fender, but guy bought it from me and fixed it up, and it's a beautiful car now. It's over there on Bring a Trailer if you guys want to check it out. It's the white 84 944. He's pretty much done everything to it, and basically just needed some TLC, but you start off with a good car and you'll have good results. Jack asked, any recommendation for fixes on the separating rear hatch? There's actually a guy over there on Facebook. Someone tagged me in their post. I'd have to look up the name again. I think there's 2 guys doing it. One's in Jersey and the other guy is, I think, Ohio or something. He just posted the other day. So if you're in any of those Facebook forums, he just posted, and he's going to be going around picking up some old hatches. But we don't rebuild them here. It's just too time consuming. But there are guys out there that build them. Jeff says, I love my 93 VX Honda Civic hatchbacks with 9 horsepower. Awesome. Those Honda Civics are a lot of fun. I had a buddy back in high school. He had it was the Civic, I guess it was a hatchback. I thought they called it something else, but kind of looked like a shooting brake almost. Jack said I saw the post there quoting $1,200, seeing the options first. Oh, I got you. Okay. Yeah, I don't blame you on that. That's about the best we could do is find someone to rebuild them for us. I would have to find somebody and hire them to do all the ones that we got. Eli says, what's your take on CVT transmissions? So our Porsches don't have those, but I actually have a work van that has CVT transmission. And I change the oil for it, or the fluid in it, regularly, and just take care of it. And I try not to beat on it too much. I know they're made of glass, so to speak, but just change the filter and fluid frequently, about every 30,000 miles. You shouldn't have any problems with it, hopefully. Han says, hi from Sweden. Do you have any advice to adjust the wheel bearings in the front? So when you install the new wheel bearings in the front, you're going to tighten them down to about 15 foot-pounds or so, and then you're going to back them off about a quarter turn. Thomas said the previous owner put yellow conies on it, rides very tight. I had a little bump in the road and it feels like it's hitting the bump stops. Is this normal with conies? They are a bit harsh. If they're adjustable, then I would try and turn them down a little bit. Zane says, where you can buy one. I'm guessing he's talking about the hatch glass from Germany, about $3,800 total with spoiler, etc. And we've got a spammer in the chat. Just ignore them. 22 people on here. Last week we had about 300 people, but we'll see if we can get to that again. You can see we are trying to clean up the shop. I get my guys in the zone, and a lot of times they'll make a mess, and I just let them do it. I'm like, if you're working and you're in the zone and getting stuff done, we're gonna let you have it. And then I try and go back and clean up at the end of the day. But sometimes it gets a little bit away from me because I'm always busy. But I have the guys here. They'll work on putting in engines, but I'm the one that rebuilds them. And if there's a radio to install or something like that, that's what I'm working on. So, getting parts for these 40-year-old cars can be time consuming and take a long time, but we do the best we can with it. Vaccinated says, I've been to Stuttgart recently. Well, awesome. Yeah, I was just up that way last year. It's already been a year now. It's hard to believe. It feels like yesterday. But hadn't been out of the country this year. I've been way too busy. All right. Looks like we got about 30 people in here. We'll just keep streaming, and you guys just keep bringing me stuff. I'll try and walk you around and show you what we're working on. Working on this S2 here. We are putting in a new radio with Sirius satellite and a backup camera. I had to put new speakers in the back here. So you've got to remove this rear quarter window here, and then you have to peel all this up. Not fun at all, because they like to glue it to the headliner, and if the headliner rips, that is very bad news. Yes, we specialize in Porsche 944s, and I've actually gotten a lot of requests to do people's 911s, but I'm already running 2 shops, so that'd be a 3rd shop. Planning on doing that soon, though. I may turn this shop into the 911 shop, and see if the other guys, they want to work on 914s and 912s or whatever, but that'd be a whole new crew. But right now, It's just a bunch of old 944s, but that includes pretty much everything except the 924. We'll work on some 924 sometimes, but we try not to. So we'll work on the 82, 83 944s all the way up to the 968s, which you see back there. But we try and go for original, but a lot of times people just want to get engine swaps or leaks fixed and end up doing a lot of turbo swaps. And Jason asked, do you work on VW bugs? No, unfortunately not. No. We work on just front engine Porsches, with not the 928s. So you'd think that there wouldn't be much of a business for working on 944s, but we got a very long wait list here. Says I'd love to own a VW Caffer. I'm not sure what that is. Was that a European car? The Copper or Caffer? How's it going, man? Do a line of Coke already. Oh, I got you. So he says the coffer is what the Germans call the VW bug. Oh, was someone looking for fenders? I missed that. We get spam every now and then when I'm on the laptop and I'm live streaming, and the way it records, it's not vertical, it's horizontal. Whenever I'm horizontal, it seems to only go out to my subscribers, and so I get a lot of 944 guys in here. But when I'm streaming vertically on my phone, it's just opened up to the world, and sometimes you get some wild stuff going on, and that's okay too. So he asked, why was the 944 discontinued but the 911 had been around for 80 years? It's a good question. I was actually listening to a podcast. I think Doug DeMuro was on it, and he was talking about that. But you got to remember, back in the 80s and 90s, that there were a lot of cheaper cars put out by Toyota and Mitsubishi. Dodge was putting out the Stealth and the 3000. Then you had Mazda with their RX-7s, and it just kind of drowned the market out. So why are you going to buy a $50,000, $60,000 Porsche when you could buy a $30,000 Mazda? Hello from Cleveland. Where are you looking? We're here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Hope you're having a nice day up in Cleveland. Mark says, can I ask you an electrical question? My car seems to have a lot of electrical gremlins. The windows, the fan blower, the sunroof don't work, but I can bypass the relay with a jumper. They work. Interesting. So the jumper may not be getting power. Might need to look, and maybe the ignition switch could be an issue, or start there, it goes through the fuse box. Sometimes I've even seen the fuse boxes, depends on the year, but the early fuse boxes, and that would be in a 944-1, the fuse boxes can even, but sometimes the plugs in the back. I would just trace the power back from the ignition switch and go from there. So the 944 was a budget 911. Well, it's kind of its own thing. They had the engine in the front and the transmission in the rear, so they were kind of a unique sports car when it was compared to the Japanese cars. But it wasn't really anything like it. Anything like the 911, that is. It's an 86 turbo. Yeah, I would just check. There's also, if all that's not working on the later cars, now that could be a completely different issue. There is a fuse that controls a lot of that stuff. Excuse me. But if you look in the, not a fuse, there is a relay, I should say. The thing about getting on a live stream on your phone is that you're getting texts and emails, all this stuff going on the screen at the same time. But yeah, there is a relay, and I want to say it's this one. And that one controls a lot of that stuff. So if you try that relay, because that'll give power to the sunroof and the power windows and stuff. And it might just be that right there. And Jason says, I'm just up one state from you. Well, awesome. So we're not too far away. John says I acquired an 86 944 NA last year, which is so loud that I have to use earplugs while driving. Is that normal? Nope, not at all. They should be pretty quiet cars. A lot of times people will put aftermarket mufflers on there. I had one that sounded like a Hellcat when I come out of the garage. It just, whoa, whoa. But you get the, but you end up getting a good muffler for it. Even a lot of aftermarket mufflers, I wouldn't put another aftermarket muffler on there, and it quieted it down some, but not as much as the stock muffler. So if you want to look around, maybe one of the breakers like 944 barn out there could get you a stock muffler you can bolt up, and yeah, definitely shouldn't have to wear earplugs when driving. So he was asking which relay. Let's see. I think it is G2. It's the ignition relay. Let's see, G2. Yeah, it's G2. So on your thing, it was the correct one. It's got a 5.3 on top if it's original. See if replacing G2 helps. No problem. Porsche made a Chinese Econo box in '94, the C88. Interesting, okay. I know for a while there they went back to helping design cars, and I'd heard on that podcast that they even made it a car for Mercedes because they weren't putting out enough production cars. So they helped Mercedes out for a little while. Dennis says, dealing with a rounded over brake line fitting this weekend. The front lines to the wheel wells look to be no longer available. Use line wrenches, folks. Yes, absolutely. And make sure that they're 6-side instead of 12-side. This is a great question from Jay. He says, do you see a demand for aftermarket ECUs as the stock DMEs are almost 40 years old? So every now and then, it's not that common, but so a lot of the DMEs that have gone out over the years have already been replaced or repaired, I should say. So when we get those in, they'll typically go for another 40 years. But every now and then I do have to swap out the occasional computer, and if we do, then we'll either get it replaced or we'll see if they want to go with Focus 9 or something along those lines. But for the most part, the computers and the DMEs are pretty bulletproof, but it does happen. But if you send them to places like ECU Max or ECU doctors, they'll fix it up, and you'll probably have no problems out of it for another 40 years. Oh, so I had him cleaning up some tools, and it's looking a little bit better in here. We are going to go today and talk to some investors because, as you guys can see, I am completely out of space. I am, depending on the day, I've got about 5 people working for me in here, and it's a tiny spot. So we're going to look at getting a much larger shop, being able to get more people in here. But as you can imagine, that when working on older cars, and especially cars that are kind of delicate at this time of their age, and a lot of things are just completely unobtainium, you have to be very careful on who's working on it. So that's why I do a lot of the interior works, because it's not that I don't trust anybody, but it's you know, one of those things where you just don't want to screw it up. So is there anything you guys want to see? John says, do you see any point in installing an OBD DME with diagnostic features from Focus 9? Well, if you have a turbo, then, and you got it modded, you definitely want to see what's going on. I've installed it in one of the cars out here to see what's going on, and it wasn't super helpful, but depends on what you're doing though. For our setup, we didn't have anything that was super helpful with. There may be a time where I would like it to, you know, the original units had blink codes. So you could go back and read them if you had a bad throttle position sensor or whatnot, or a bad knock sensor. But for the most part, if you have that Focus 9, I don't believe, you just see that you get some weird readings, and you have to then pinpoint exactly where all that's going, rather than just having a blink code or something. So it could be helpful. We've got it installed on the car out here, but just for a daily driver, I don't know. Would you delete emissions on the 951? So I am a shop, and I can't say things like that. One of the problems is I'll just say this, that if you delete the hose vent underneath where the charcoal canister is, you're going to smell gas a lot, and it's going to be really annoying, especially if you park in the garage. So, but what you do with the cat, you know, I can't say. I'm just covering myself there. I had a guy here last week, and he's like, "You're very precise in the things that you say on a live stream." It's like, you just never know. Just never know. And I don't want people, if I'm telling people where to buy parts at, I don't want them going, "Oh yeah, he's getting a kickback off this stuff." No, I don't get a kickback on any of this stuff. So I'm just trying to help out, but let people know I'm not just trying to sell parts to people or something. So trying to be straightforward with them. Which would be a better driver, the 924 or the 944? So I've driven both. The 944 by far. So the 944, especially a later one, I don't really like to get into the electrics of the later cars. But if you do some of the upgrades on an early car, you can have the best of both worlds. You're having a simpler experience with living with them, because there's cables that drive everything rather than a bunch of actuators. A lot of people don't like the dash, but you know, I kind of like the retro style of them. But when it comes to the 924, you've got the smaller engine that on a good day might make 110 horsepower, and they're buzzy. So there's a lot of vibration, a lot of booming from the engine in the interior, so it's kind of louder than the 944. The 944 was a bit more refined, and I think it handles better. I own a 924S, and that's my daily driver, and I absolutely love it. But my 84 944 and my 85 and a half 944, that extra tire on there, and I've got the late wheels, so I have the early offset 924, of course, but it has late offset 87 944 wheels on there, so I have the same tires as 944 has, but of course the extension, the hubs were extended, so you have that a little bit wider track, and it does make a difference. So I do like the 944's handling a little bit better, even though it's got the same tires on there. It just seems to grab a little bit better. And 944 is so much easier to fix than a 924. It's not even close, and a lot of the parts for the 924 are just obsolete. Thomas says, on the 86 Turbo, the seat back is straight up and down, not comfortable. Is there a way for the back for the original adjustment? That's a good question. Probably not, because the wheel well's there. We were actually talking about that this morning. The guy here at the shop, we were talking about the back seats. You know, the RX-7s were just a two-seater in the US, and that's what I started out with before I got into the 944s. And so I was like, I don't know why they didn't put back seats in these things. But so I don't know. I don't think that there is a good way to. It'd be nice to, but if you're like me, you just ride with the back seat flipped down and you put groceries back there anyway. So. Diecast says, checking in to say hi. Well, hi, Diecast. Hope you're doing well. No problem, Jay. Says I daily drive my 83 944 for the past few years. Awesome. Yeah, they're great cars. You get them done right, they'll last forever, and you won't have any issues out of them. Oh, he said, sorry, talking about the front. When did I read the back driver's seat? I might have just misread something. I'm reading this on my phone. It's so tiny, and I'm having to hold it far away, so you're not like getting a view at my nose. Talking about the front driver's seat. So you're asking, is there a possible to get it to go back further? Let's see. Oh, the seat back. Okay, and I read that as the back seat. Okay, is like straight up and down. Okay, so if it's just straight up and yes, the yeah, they're definitely reclinable. They'll recline all the way into the back seat. So that may have been like why I was confused. Yeah, they should go back way further than that. So ordinarily, if you have the seat pulled like that, it'll go back to the position, but you can see that's not straight up and down there. And get in it and pull this lever here, and it should go all the way back until it touches the back seat. So if it's not doing that, then you probably got a mechanical issue. Maybe a cable or something has come off. The handle might have broke or something. Sometimes I want to respond to the weird comments. Should I respond to the weird comments? So, like I was saying earlier, like if I'm on the laptop It's horizontal, so it just shows my subscribers what I'm doing. But like when you're on the phone,
it shows
everybody in the world gets to come in here. And some of them are funny, some of them are like, okay, but what lever am I missing? Something. Okay, so I think you said you had a turbo. I'm scrolling up now. I'm not gonna be able to find it. So if you got a late car, or I call them 944-2s because everybody today says 991.1 and 991.2. So if you have a 944.1, then it's going to be a rotor dial on the side of the seat. But if you have a 9442, it's going to be a handle on your right side of your seat. But if it's passenger seat, it'll be the left side. So whichever one's closer to your torque tube. Project says 944s. Well, that would be nice if people stop by and buy them. So you never know. I don't really have a seat out right now, but all right. Don't forget, guys, you can always go back and watch the live streams later if you missed them live. But here we've got a 944 with the head off. Well, the head's on, but the cam housing's off. The head was off yesterday. It's back on now. And we're just getting this back together here. Philip says, I have an 85.5. I want to replace the water pump and the belts. Is there an aftermarket tool to help with the tension specs on the belt? What are the specs for the belt tension? So, there used to be a guy that made tools. It was Ironworks, but I heard he got bought out or went out of business. I'm not sure what happened. And they were basically made from dial indicators, so anytime you would try and do it, and intuitively it was always the opposite of what you thought. So a lot of people loved them, I think, but a lot of people were confused by them. So you might be able to find an Ironworks tool online, but at the same time, yeah, someone says you get 3D print one, but I'm not sure about those. But I've got different tools and stuff we use, but we have an original one too. But the expensive ones by Porsche are very hard to find, and it's hard to swallow the cost if you're going to do it one time. So look up the Ironworks or see if you can borrow one. Project says, I bought the Ironworks tool, but I couldn't get it to work properly. I might leave it to you. Well, it sounds good to me. Yeah, they're good tools, but they're not intuitive. So as the belt gets tighter, it's a dial indicator essentially. So like everything that you think you're doing, you got to think the reverse of. So once you get that, oh, it's easy to do though, because it confuses a lot of people. The original gauge, you would see it go clockwise and that would tell you the tension, but you go backwards on the Ironworks tool. And Dennis says, I have the Ironworks tool and lost the instructions. Yeah, once you lose the instructions and you haven't used it before, it's something else. Andre says, I've been looking for a blinker fluid. Oh yeah, there we go. Well, you know, I don't respond to the troll comments, but sometimes I want to. I'm a little bit of a troll myself. You can't be on the internet and like, you know. You gotta have a thick skin.
Pretty much the same.
So, got some guys here, and I'm not trying to bother them, but I'm also not trying to leave dead air for them. So, oh, yeah. Are you guys gonna take off?
Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
All right.
I will see you guys later.
Yeah. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Yeah, you too.
So that's my new guy. He's going to be working here on Sundays with me. And anyway, yeah. Like I said, I'm going to go see about getting a larger shop today, get some more people in here. But the problem is that you can hire a bunch of people, but I kind of do a lot of everything around here. And that's because I like to get my guys in the zone and just let them bang out what they need to do. But when it comes to doing the rear quarter windows and doing radio installations and just stuff along those lines, it's a very delicate process, and you know, you don't want to end up tearing up a one-of-a-kind back panel that you can't get anything out. And I don't know. I'm sure I got a few subscribers here and stuff, but so we put a backup camera on this car, and we tried to make it so that way we don't drill any holes. So if you guys are interested in, you know, having a backup camera on a 944, this is the way we sometimes do it. We've done a few different ones, but we use the existing holes in the body from the factory without drilling new ones, and then we just run the wires through there, and then we use a smaller bolt that goes in with the cable, and then that secures everything up. Then we put the original bolt back in there, so if one day an owner in the future or the owner decides that he doesn't want any of this, it's easily removed and it goes back to stock, and you haven't heard anything. And for at least a while, the guys have a backup camera. Volvo had an engine with balance shafts developed by Porsche. The tool for Volvo's engines. Well, that's a good, yeah. I did not know that. We should look that up. So I know a lot of the Porsche balance shafts that are in the 944s were actually developed first by Mitsubishi, and then Porsche was going to design their own and decided against it because it was already a decent design. They did change it a little bit. They put sprockets instead of chains. So our engines are pretty much like a Mitsubishi design with just a few differences. We didn't, those were cast iron blocks and used chains. So whenever I hear people say, why didn't Porsche just use chains in their engines, like, well, you can get the Mitsubishi engine and there you go, you'll have a you'd have an engine with chains. So I'm not really surprised that they helped Volvo develop their balance shafts. Diecast says, I like your 944 Fest Gulf inspired banner. Do you have any for sale? I do not have any for sale. I got that from Travis, who runs 944 Fest. So hit him up. Just go to 944fest.com. I think you can order those. But I got mine for free since we are a sponsor of 944 Fest. And I got a special banner back there on the wall that is only for sponsors. So it looks like the poster you could buy, but the poster was tiny. This thing's bigger than it looks, but it's way back there on the wall. Project 944 says, does the backup camera pair with audio head unit? Yes. Apple CarPlay, yes. And oh, one that you recommend. Sorry, I gotta read the whole comment. So yeah, I have installed a lot of these, and so I was putting the Pioneers in there because Pioneer's a decent brand, and they're like half the price of the JVCs and the Sonys and stuff. So you can get one for like $400, and I got one that was really good. I loved it. And then I bought another one. I couldn't find that exact model. I don't know if they took it off the market, but I bought another one, and the Bluetooth just went out on it within a couple of months, and I was not very happy with that. So I said, let's try the Sonys. Yeah, they're more expensive, but they do the wireless CarPlay, which is a much better feature to me. So this is what we're trying now. We're going with a Sony on this one. It's the Sony, I think it's AVX 7000. Oh, AX 7000. This one is not a double DIN unit, which I was sold that it was. Because all they showed me was this. I assumed that this was a double DIN, and it said so on the website, but it is not a true double DIN. So might be something if you guys have later cars and you want to keep the little pocket cubby down there. You can still use it. You can put stuff in it. You'll never get it out, but you can still use it. So this is what we're trying on this car, and I have not got it installed yet. So we have the backup camera on. We have the speakers in. I got to put the rear quarter windows in. I have the XM satellite radio installed. Just had to order the adapter kit since this car still had the original stereo. I wasn't going to cut the wires out of it. What we do here is we keep everything clean and original, so that way if one day somebody out of the blue goes, well, this car needs to go back to stock, well, everything's there for it to do. There's no new holes in there. Everything's run just under the carpet or tucked, and maybe some zip ties here or there to hide some wires, but that's it. So everything can go back 100% back to stock at minimal effort. And we're going to give this the Sony radio a shot. But yeah, I think that anything you buy would be pretty decent. And someone asked, what is the most expensive car you've worked on? That's a good question. I had the guys coming in on stream that are not familiar with my channel, we only work on Porsche 944s. So I think the most expensive car I've seen in here is I had an $80,000 like 944 turbo with like 23,000 miles on it. Well, that would be about my best guess of that. It might have been just 70 something, but it was a pristine, mint condition, low mileage car. And the market goes up and down on them. So, one day it might be, oh, well, that's only 60,000. But at the time, it was probably worth about 75, somewhere around in there. So, well, not very exciting, but yeah, I wouldn't want to scratch it. So, and that's another reason why we got to get a bigger shop. We're packed in here, and we have got to make more room for 944s. Edwin says, I'm watching from Kenya. Well, hello from Charlotte, North Carolina. And I'm just knocking everything over today. Do you know about, I don't know if these are just spam or whatever, but he said phones or Fuchs. I like both. To me, I'm more of an 80s guy, so okay. More of an 80s guy, so, when I see the Fuchs, I see more of a classic 1960s kind of wheel. If you look at the Mustangs, they had that kind of look as well, and the Porsches, the 912s, they all had that sort of Fuchs. It's a classic design. but to me it's kind of more 60s. And with the cookie cutters, I know you didn't ask, but the cookie cutters, that is such a 70s design to me. Growing up in the early 80s, and you'd see all the, even the big wheels had like those cookie cutter type wheels on there, and the bandit wheels kind of resemble that to me. So when it comes to the phone dials, to me, that is like the quintessential 80s wheel. And so when it comes to stock wheels, I'm a big phone dials guy. But I do have Fuchs on some of my cars, so I don't hate them. I actually like the Fuchs, but Fuchs or phone dials, I'm going with phone dials. And Diecast says cookies. Hey, I don't hate. I like all of them. But I'm a Fuchs and a phone dial guy. But I will say, like, most of my cars have phone dials, and I like them. Ever worked on a 924 Carrera GT? I have not ever worked on one, but I have seen two of them. I have been in two of them. Oh, and yeah, that's the thing, is a lot of people will say, well, you're just giving the the non-upsetting answer. But no, I actually have Fuchs on one car, and then I have phones on the other. I'm more of a phone dial guy, but I don't hate the Fuchs. Any chance I get, I want to buy Fuchs. I mean, let's get real. But I'm not gonna just straight up. So if I buy a car and it comes with like some 19-inch wheels or 17-inch wheels on there, like those turbo twists, I'm gonna find a set of Fuchs and put them on there. I'm not gonna put phone dials on there unless I just have some laying around. But if I got a pair of phone dials, I'm not getting rid of them. I'm gonna leave them on the car. Early or late? I like working on the early cars a lot better than the late, but I own equal amounts of early and late 944. So I had 83, I had an 84 that I sold, and I love my 84. And that was probably my preferred car, but I also have an 85 and a half, two 85s and a half. I got a black one, and I've got a garnet red one. But I also have a lot of 924S's, and that's my daily driver. And that's only because it's so nice to drive. It's a weird thing. Like, you can get in a late 944, and the 924S drives just as nice. The 84 is a little bit more raw, but for some reason that translated over to the 924S. How do you tell your 951 is on lit mode? So I believe Clark's has a write-up on this. It'd be easier to me describing it. So you got to drive the car around, and before you even shut the engine off, you have to read the blink codes. It's not complicated, but back then you could just run the Radio Shack and get a little 12-volt LED or something. But you'll need a 12-volt LED. Go on Amazon, get it, and just run it out. And is it 12-volt? I don't even know if it runs on 12-volt. It might be just 9-volt LED. But get an LED on Amazon and just jumper it the way Clark says. I think it's between A and C and the jumper, and then it should blink out some codes. But I've gotten in 944s that they had to be running in lit mode and still didn't pull any codes. So it's not always the case. Rear wiper or not? They're convenient. It's nice to have a rear wiper, but I've got rear wipers on two of my cars, and they like the strip. The arms like the strip, and it's very hard to find another arm. But on a wet, rainy day, it is convenient to have a rear wiper, but absolutely not necessary. But when I bought my 88 924S, there's only so many options that you could get on the 924s, and I had every option but the rear wiper. So I went ahead and put one on there. But again, the rear wiper arm stripped and doesn't work anymore. So, that was probably 10 years ago though. So for about 10 years, I had a working rear wiper, and it was convenient, but I didn't use it all that much. Thoughts on Safari 944s? To me, I mean, I think they look pretty cool. I'm not gonna have one. I'm not saying that people shouldn't. I'm not gonna go out of my way to go. I love a nice original car, and I've seen a lot of Safaris at 944 Fest, and I think even Elliott has one, and they look pretty cool. But I used to have a Baja buggy back in high school, and it just reminds me of those. I hate them. I like it, but I would just get a Baja buggy. But to each their own. I enjoy them. But I've had someone that asked me if I'd build one for them, and I'm like, I don't know anything about it. How long would it take you to do a clutch on a turbo at this point if all parts are in hand? If you're doing it at home and it's your first time, I'd expect a week. Just to be sure that you get everything. It probably may not take you that long. You can drop the transmission, get the torque tube out and stuff, and maybe a long weekend. But I mean, if you're doing it between your day job and everything, then yeah, I'd schedule out like a week and a couple hours after work. But the first time I did a clutch job years ago, yeah, scheduled it out over a couple of days. Prelude says, thanks for all you do. Gotta go. Love my 86 Garnet Red you rebuilt last year. Oh, yeah. I remember that now. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're still enjoying it. Oh, yeah. I hope you got it fixed, too, from the accident. But you have a good weekend. Oh, it'll be my first time on a turbo. Oh. Yeah. The turbos. If you got, do you have the, like the middle, like maybe February 1986, they went to the two-piece crossover. So if you've got the two-piece crossover, that's going to take a lifetime off that repair. Okay, it's 87 two-piece. Okay, you're in good shape. So it's not going to be too much different than the naturally aspirated models. So you're in pretty good shape there. If you've got to get in there and take that one piece out, you better find some people to help, because some of those crossover pipes, they'll go right back into place and you don't need any help, but sometimes you get them and they're just a little bit warped and you're in there prying and you got two guys holding on and you got to get it back on there, just back into place. It's not fun. And Prelude says he's getting us paint this spring. Well, awesome, man. Can't wait to see it. Dennis, that's good news that you don't have to remove that crossover pipe. So, all right, guys, we're getting up on an hour now. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and next week we'll go around and see. I'll try and do something special for you guys. Come up with something. I was kind of short-handed this week. Robert says, I took my brake booster vacuum hose apart. Do you reassemble it with the original clamps, or do you convert it to the screw hose clamps? Brake booster vacuum hose apart. Do you reassemble it with the original hose clamps? They should all have the screw type. So if you don't have that, I would go to the screw type clamps. yeah, I'm gonna try and do a live stream. It's kind of hard. There's no cell phone reception down in Helen. I would love to do a live stream, but that place is a black hole, so it's very hard to get signal anywhere around there. But I'm also looking forward to Helen. I can't wait to see you there. I enjoy it. Thanks for your time. See you next week. Mine had crimped kind. Okay. Oh. I know what you're saying. You had the Oetiker clamps on some of them. Okay. Yeah, I would definitely go to the, I would just get rid of those, because what happens with those Oetiker clamps is that they just spread out over time, and you just have to keep reclamping them, and it's no way to be. Because even with, if you've replaced the hoses and you've got the clamp style, the screw type clamps, the worm gears, I don't really recommend those either. I'd get like maybe the straight through clamp vise style ones, because after about a week of driving and getting hot and cold, those new hoses are going to shrink, and then you'll need to tighten them down again anyway. So that's the best way to do it. But yeah, I know what you're talking about now. I got you. Well, all right, guys. You guys have a great Sunday, and we'll see you next week, same time, same bat channel. See you then. Bye.